Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up, which is being sponsored by Entangled Teen and Hyperion, and I'm going to be showing you all the books that I read in the month of July and sharing my feels with you. So let's get started. The first book I read this month was actually a comic book, and that is Deadly Class Volume 1, and I also read Deadly Class Volume 2, and I'm just going to talk about them together because I have pretty much the same feelings for both of them. This comic book series is about this high school where the world's top crime families send the next generation of assassins to be trained to murder. It's a very dark and brutal comic book series, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. The thing that I love the most about the Deadly Class series so far is that the art is absolutely stunning. I pretty much just sat there and drooled as I was reading these two volumes because the art is amazing. Amazing! I also really liked the overall movement of images. I haven't read too many comic books, so I can't really compare it to anything, but from what I have read, it moved in a very unique way. What I think these two volumes lacked, though, was major character development. I think it would have been nice to have more of a backstory. You are kind of given a little bit of a backstory, but I think that I just needed a little bit more to kind of grasp exactly what was happening. But I still really enjoyed these, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with the series. The next book I read was Amulet Volume 1, The Stonekeeper. This is a middle grade fantasy graphic novel, but it definitely didn't feel middle grade to me because the main character goes through some very serious and tough issues at the beginning of the story. I don't want to give too much away for the series, but I will give you a little bit of a vague idea of what the plot is about. Basically, this girl and her family move to the home of her deceased great-grandfather, and strange things begin to happen. The main character, Emily, and her brother, Navin, find themselves in a sticky situation. I loved this graphic novel so much. I didn't have any expectations going into this, but I was thoroughly pleased with this story. The characters were so nice, the overall plot was exciting and fun, and I just loved the art. I thoroughly enjoyed this graphic novel, and I will definitely be continuing on with this series. Next up, I read 4 by Veronica Roth. I was not planning on picking this book up or even buying it because I just didn't really see a point in it. I'm not a huge fan of novellas as it is, but I ended up buying it, reading it, and loving it. I didn't really like 4's perspective in Allegiant, and I often struggled really finding that much of a difference between 4 and Triss's voice throughout Allegiant, but this book really provided 4 with his own distinct voice. And I was overall really pleased with this book, and I'm glad that I decided to pick it up, even though I wasn't planning on picking it up. Then I read Obsidian, which is the first book in the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I actually did a full review on this book, so if you'd like to see that, there will be a link in the down bar, so go check that out. This book is about a girl named Katie who is a book blogger, and her mother decide to move to a new town to get a fresh new start because Katie's father has just passed away. And they just so happen to move in next door to some aliens. Ooh. This is a book that I would not normally go and pick out for myself at a bookstore, but I had heard so many great things about it, so I decided to pick it up. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, guys. I started reading the book and I just got completely sucked in. It's not a perfect story by any means, but it is just super entertaining. The dialogue between the characters is hilarious, the plot is super exciting and thrilling at times, and just the way that aliens are described in this book, so freaking cool. While I loved it, like I said, it wasn't perfect. It has its flaws. The plot was quite predictable and the romance was a little bit too much for me at times. And I also really didn't like the main character, Damon. Hated him. But overall, I really enjoyed this book and I found it to just be such a fun and entertaining light read. Then I read Mind Games and Perfect Lies, both by Kiersten White. This is a duology, but I personally think it would have been fine as one single book. This duology is about twin sisters with powers. First we have Annie, who is blind but is capable of seeing the future. And then we have Fia, whose first impulse is always right. So if she sees somebody and she has this impulse that they're gonna like pick up a drink and drink it, they're gonna pick up that drink and they're gonna drink it. The girls find themselves trapped in a school and working for an organization that they don't want to be working for. But if they go against this organization and try to escape, they're risking their lives. I had loads of problems with this duology. It just wasn't for me. There were several things that factored into me not really enjoying this duology. The first thing was the characters. they were super annoying. Secondly, the world felt very undeveloped, and I would have liked some sort of backstory or some sort of reasoning as to why the world was the way it was in the story, but there was just really no explanation. And the plot just kind of felt pointless to me. I really hate giving negative reviews, and I hardly ever come across a book that I actually hate, but I just really didn't like this duology. I really didn't like it. Next up, I reread The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I've gushed about this book time and time again on my channel, so I'm not gonna gush anymore, but just know that I love this book to death. And finally, the last book I read this month was The Warrior Heir by Cinda Williams Chima. This story is about a boy named Jack who lives a pretty normal life until one day he finds out that he's a part of an underground magical society and that he's a wizard. What? But he was born without a wizard's stone. And instead of receiving a wizard's stone like he was supposed to get, he ends up getting a warrior stone. And due to the fact that he gets a warrior stone, this means that Jack must participate in a tournament against other warriors. I really enjoyed this book, and I think it was a great kickstart to a fantastic fantasy series that I am looking forward to continuing on with, because I'm definitely going to be continuing on with it. The only real problem that I had with this book was the pacing. It was slow, but I knew that it was going to be slow because it's the first book in a fantasy series, so you have a lot of information dumps, you have to get familiar with different characters and things, so I was expecting that, so it didn't really take away from the story for me. I think the thing that I loved the most about this book were the characters. They were just fantastic. Such unique and interesting characters, that's for sure. And the plot was mysterious. It was really fun trying to figure out what was going to be happening next, and it was just all around a very solid fantasy book. I've only heard that the series continues to get better, so I'm really looking forward to continuing on with it, and I'm definitely going to be reading the next book in the series next month. So yes, that's happening. Those are the books that I read in the month of July. You guys should let me know down below if you've read any of the books that I read this month, or just let me know what books you read this month. What was your favorite book that you read this month? Let me know that in the comments down below. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon with a new video. Later. I do think so far that this... I do think that... I really didn't like 4's. Then I read Obsidian by